Hi, we're live.
Oh, we are. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I didn't even see that yet. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Culture Binge, the Wisecrack podcast where we dive deep into what's going on in the zeitgeist. I'm Michael. I'm here as always with Wisecrack writer Alec and Wisecrack researcher Serby. Alec and Serby, how are you all doing today?
Well, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Wow, a lot of wells all around. I really enjoy it. So we have a lot to get into today. Surprisingly, there's still tons going on in our culture. But as always, let's start by talking about the ups and downs of our recent lives and cultural consumption. So let's get into slaps and chaps. Serby, I don't know. I feel like everyone always wants to hear from you first. Maybe it's just me, but I assume everyone else is like me. So Serby, what is slapping and chapping in your life?
So I have a slap chap combo this week. Airbnb is laying off 25% of its workforce, which is very, very sad. But the letter that the CEO wrote to its team is so lovely and kind. So Brian Chesky wrote the most empathetic, transparent, caring letter, and he broke the letter up into three parts. One was like how they came to this decision, how they decided who was going to get laid off, and what they were planning to do for the people who are laid off. And Airbnb is going to offer 14 weeks paid salary, a year of health care. You get to keep all of your options, even if you haven't hit your 1 year cliff, which is huge. If you've ever worked in a startup, that's fantastic. They're going to turn some of their recruiters, like in-house recruiters at Airbnb, they're going to turn them into recruiters to help the people who have been laid off find a job. And they're going to set up like all these different like platforms to get people jobs. And it's so kind. I felt quite emotional reading it. Maybe because I work at a tech company that's similar to Airbnb. Like I felt like a very strong connection to them. And I like by the end of it, I felt like very teary-eyed, and it was sad.
Wow. That's intense. And maybe it sounds like the one good CEO who ever fired anyone in a way that's remotely humane. That's good. Wait, so that's your slap and chap. It's chaps that they got fired. It's slaps that the CEO did something good.
Yes.
Great. I imagine Alex slaps and chaps will also be related to the startup world in some way, shape, or form. So, Alec, what is
Companies that ruin the housing market while having very empathetic CEOs?
Yes, I needed that.
Sorry. No, I mean, I obviously feel very bad for the workers and also simultaneously hate Airbnb, but that's fine. My slaps, I've been reading a great graphic novel. I think that's the name. Saga. Highly recommend it. It comes in volumes, although you could buy specific issues. But it's like it's a graphic novel, kind of like a Romeo and Juliet situation in space. But there's a baby and there's also magic involved. And I think my elevator pitch for it is that it's kind of mostly serious in tone, but the way they fuck with that tone is so incredible. Like, they're like trying to save somebody's life and it's very dramatic and they have to, find some magical serum and they just walk into a dragon's den and the dragon is sucking its own dick. Or
whoa. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. The antagonist. And again, like, still mostly serious are just these race of robots with like screens for heads. And it's a very hierarchical society. So the peasants have like black and white screens and the royalty have color screens. And the king has just this like giant flat screen TV head. So it's pretty cool. The art's really amazing. And also one of their friends that follows them around on these adventures is the ghost of a child that stepped on a landmine. And just the entire time her entrails in her ghostly form are just like, and so it's great.
Sounds like a wild ride.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I'm really kind of obsessed how like 80% of the time it's fairly serious. And then there's just these like little moments that you're like, what the fuck?
That's great.
As far as what chaps, it's a little bit of a combo, but it chaps that I've unfortunately gotten into 90 Day Fiance. Specifically before the 90 days, where there's a cast of characters, some of which are getting catfished, finding love abroad. The way it's edited, it's so like manipulative and shitty, like next time, and then it's like 3 episodes later, or like before every commercial break, there's like a 30-second to a minute long, like, here's what's coming up next. But then after the commercial break, there's like a minute long, like, here's what just happened. So in an hour long episode, there's probably only 20 minutes of actual content.
Oh, is it sort of like Love is Blind?
I haven't seen Love is Blind, but I've heard Burns talk about it. I don't think so, because these are generally American men trying to find like girlfriends / wives abroad.
Sounds totally normal and cool.
I know somebody who did that, or who was like the daughter of a woman.
Yeah, and some of them are like, there's this girl who met this other girl through like YouTube, and the relationship's probably not going to work, but like it's not creepy. But then there's this other guy who spent $100,000 on a dating site to talk to a Ukrainian woman, and then goes to Ukraine to meet her for the 3rd time in a row, and she doesn't show up for the 3rd time in a row. And he's like, I just know if she chats me, I'll fall right back in.
Oh, I think you might have just sold me on starting to watch this show.
No.
That sounds amazing.
Okay, I was also thinking about learning how to do video editing, where I could just like edit out all the bullshit from the episode. So like turning the hour into 20 minutes, in which case I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and if maybe to even help Alec, if someone out there is a skilled video editor and just wants to make 20-minute cuts of 90 Day Fiance for Alec, he'll reciprocate somehow. Who knows? Well, that's fun. Even your chap sounded good. Okay, slaps, chaps. Let's go for slaps. Another reality TV thing, but a show that I'm proud to say that I like. Current season of Top Chef. We're a little over halfway through. It's really been a lifeline for me. I love the show Top Chef. I think it's one of the only, I think, like morally and artistically good reality shows, because you have great people who are doing things that are really interesting, and they're in a lot of cases like working class chefs. It's a weird time to watch it, because a lot of these people right now, their livelihoods are in limbo. But it's been a really great season. So I don't know if you've never watched it before, maybe give it a try if you're looking for something to watch. And it's been nice for me because in this world where schedules have changed a little bit, it's nice to just know every Thursday night at 10, I'm watching Top Chef. I'm going to make something nice for dinner before. Might fix a cocktail at 9:45 before the show starts. It's great. Check it out. The thing that chaps for me right now is I'm really annoyed at people in my neighborhood that had lawn parties this weekend. It was kind of, I don't want to say it was dystopian, but it was like an experience of people living in 2 different worlds this weekend, where I took a walk, had my mask on, was swerving around people as we should at this time. And then I got to this one corner, and there was like 2 different crews on these lawns, clearly with friends who don't all live together, just like partying, having drinks, doing whatever. I didn't like it, and I don't know. I just think people should do better. And I go ahead.
Not even the 6 feet apart lawn chairs, because those parties are cool.
No, not even that. Some of them are like not doing that. Yeah, if you're like exactly 6 feet apart, do whatever. Go on a cruise ship, have fun. But these people were doing that. I didn't like it, and then it did make me get active on the Nextdoor app. I don't know if anyone's familiar.
I love Nextdoor.
Yeah, I have a bit of a history of getting on the Nextdoor app once every 3 or 4 months. When I look back, I always see why people get mad at me, because I can come across as slightly antagonistic, making wildly black and white moral claims about my neighbors in very stark terms. So I have participated in Nextdoor a little bit because of this. I'm not proud of it, but it happens. So that's what's slapping and chaffing for me. Now we have a lot to talk about today. Some good stuff coming up. We're going to talk about basically the hottest game out there that everyone's talking about that I don't understand. We're going to get into testing, not the fun type of testing like SATs and ACTs, but testing for COVID-19. And we'll talk a little bit about people who are making TV shows in this weird world. I do want to shout out, however, a listener that left a review. So last week we did encourage you all, if you have the time, to subscribe and review. And I left a little challenge to say, if you leave a review, let us know who you would cast in a film if they made a film of this, which they could film remotely. So it's a really good option if any studio execs are listening. And we do, and this is from someone called, I think it's Voiden PR, and they this is how they cast us. We got myself being played by Cillian Murphy, Alec played by Ben Barnes, and Serby played by Princess Meghan Markle. So that's how do you all feel about being cast that way? You can say no comment. You can feel good about it. Any thoughts?
Wow. Serby?
I feel really good that somebody thought of me and like really tried to think of who would be great for me. So thank you.
I didn't know. I do know Ben Barnes, but I didn't realize I knew it. He plays Logan in Westworld, and I was like, that's a handsome man with a similar beard. I'm very flattered, unless they're just saying this is like what Alex should look like, in which case I'm offended and I hate this person. I'm just kidding. But I think Cillian Murphy's a little bit weird for you. I feel like his bone structure is all wrong.
Yeah, my thing is I'm fine with it because it'd be cool to look like him. And I feel like whoever left that was thinking to themselves, they got inside my head and said, if Michael could look like someone, who would he want to look like?
Yeah.
And I think within the realm of appropriateness, I think that is right. There's other people I would say I want to look like, but it'd be uncomfortable if I said like, oh, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. That would just seem problematic potentially. Yeah. So I'm fine with it.
Is Cillian Murphy the one from Peaky Blinders?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can see it. Like the eyes are very similar.
Yeah. And the Peaky Blinders thing makes sense because I'm also a ruthless Irish street criminal.
Yeah.
Who has blades in my hats. So I think that's probably what they were thinking as well.
I also just want to give a quick shout out. We got 2 donations in the live chat from HydroPX. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. And also, as usual, Dude Abides, who says hashtag tie yourself up. Don't know what that means.
Yes.
Give more context.
Yes.
But thank you.
Listen, Dude Abides is, if he wasn't already my favorite person, he definitely is. He may have participated in a Twitch stream that I run in which we do have a viral hashtag tie yourself up. We maybe get into it later, but it's the new viral craze that is sweeping the nation, I would say. So expect to see more of that on your nightly news shows. But to talk about viral crazes, let's get into a very hot craze that I truly know nothing about, Animal Crossing. And I think for this one as well, we might have a special guest.
Is the special guest coming on? The special guest might be our producer, Joy. Who's amazing.
Hi.
Yes. This is Wisecrack producer extraordinary Joy. Anything you hear or watch or see that's made by Wisecrack wouldn't happen if it wasn't for Joy. So please do send money to her house. So Serby, get us started. Joy, jump in as well. What's the deal with Animal Crossing?
Okay, so I'm going to explain Animal Crossing, and then I want to try to talk to Joy and interview her a tiny bit. Okay. So Animal Crossing, for those of you who don't know, is a social simulation game in which players take a deserted island and turn it into their home. They can build and decorate a house, they can sell turnips, they can fish in the ocean, they can even visit other people's islands. So if you engage in specific activities, you can earn currency and then buy in-app clothing, house decor, or plane tickets to go to another island. Some players have virtual birthday parties and just hang out on other people's islands. And since the game was released on the 20th of March, it has exploded in popularity. Animal Crossing New Horizons is the latest addition in the Nintendo game that was originally released in 2001. So here's a quote from Jane who is an avid Animal Crossing player. And this is her response when asked, what does hanging out in the game involve? It's so many of the things I wish I could do in person. You can wander around together just taking in the sights. You can pick fruit or catch fish together. Yesterday, I showed my guests on my island the museum collection, and on my friend's island, where she was having her birthday party, I marveled at her spread of sushi and cotton candy, and I even bought some new flowers and clothes at her island store that aren't available on my island. Every hangout I've done on Animal Crossing has also been accompanied by a Zoom call, so you actually interact in real life too. So I have been dying to play Animal Crossing, but I don't have a Switch, and they're all sold out around me. And I'm fascinated by this game and have wondered, why is it so popular? So Joy, I'd like to ask about your experience playing the game, why you enjoy it so much, and what you think is so appealing about it.
Sure. Well, I think a lot about what is the reason why Animal Crossing is popular right now in particular has to do a lot with coronavirus, just because it, like you said, it is a life sim and you are able to hang out with friends right now, even though we're all quarantined to our houses. I know that I've been visiting a lot of friends on their islands, and they're people that I would normally hang out with in real life. So it's been really nice to like catch up with them, and like we get to do something on our FaceTime calls instead of just talking about coronavirus. Like a lot of our conversations will consist of things that are not coronavirus, like things that may seem dumb, but in the game are really fun, like the latest rare fish we caught, or like what fruits are on our islands, or trading things. Kind of like what the person was saying, like it's really fun to go to somebody else's island and collect things that you don't have, because then you can make your island better and you guys can help each other. So it's just like, it's honestly like a great community game, but it's also really fun to play alone because there's daily tasks to do every day. So you feel like accomplished, even though it's not a lot of stuff. It's literally dumb things like shaking trees and collecting furniture.
Yes.
Yeah, and checking turnip prices, of course, as if anybody's heard of turnips.
Yeah.
So turnips the main currency on these islands?
So bells are the main currency, but the turnips are kind of like the stock market. They're called the stock market because you buy them on Sunday, and then every day in the morning and in the evening, the prices change. So you have to go and check before noon and afternoon every day, which reminds me, I got to do that right after I get off this call.
Are all the 8-year-olds playing this game gonna like grow up to be the most ruthless capitalists?
Honestly, I mean, yeah, a lot of people are making jokes about like Tom Nook the Crook, like he's like capitalist, whatever, extraordinaire. But yeah, sorry.
So do you think this has to do, like, do we think that Animal Crossing would be as popular, like, say, if it came out November 20th rather than March 20th? Like, are we just interested in escapism right now? Or do we just like the idea of, like, collecting little things and bells and miles and hanging out in VR?
Right. Well, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, well,
No, go ahead, Joy.
I was just going to say, like, similar to other life simulators like Sims, I think people are often interested in, like, this alternate life, or, like, creating these extravagant things that we normally wouldn't be able to create. Like, kind of one of the reasons I love Animal Crossing is because I'm frugal, because my family is very frugal, so I don't spend a lot of money on like material things, but in the game I can literally buy the dumbest clothes. Like I can buy a gizzard costume and it's like not a waste of money, and it's stupid and fun, and I can decorate my house the dumbest way, and it's so fun. And I think that's why people like Sims and Animal Crossing. But what do you guys think?
I mean, Animal Crossing, it's just the sort of latest version. And so, like, I did see a lot of hype on Twitter about it even before all this, but I do think, I don't know, like, it might have been like 60 or 70% of its popularity. I mean, I definitely think about people who don't traditionally game. Like, Serby, you didn't have a Switch before, but now you're, like, hearing all the hype and got nothing better to do, and you're like, shit, I need a Switch. And so I think it's probably benefiting in that way. And then, like, yeah, I think the escapism is, first of all, there's an element of our life, even if it's like a digital variety, that we can actually have control over, whether it's like buying clothes or designing your island, or even like just having people over, that I think becomes really enticing now. I mean, it's enticing. Games like this are already enticing because, people have stressful jobs, they don't have control over anything, and they just want this world where they do have all those things. And I think that's just amplified times 10 in the world of COVID.
Yeah. Wait, so I have a question. Are there any ways that people are trying to be like subversive on Animal Crossing? So we talked before about how it basically is like replicating a kind of capitalist system. Are there any weirdos who start like anarchist communal islands? Or is anyone forming the revolution? Are there weird like groups of people that are at odds with each other? Are there wars, beef, gangs? Is there a dark side to the islands, is what I'm saying?
Not in like, I guess not in the sense that you're talking about. Like, a lot of people are mean to their villagers, but that's just because they think they're ugly. I don't even want to get into TikToks, but there's a lot of mean people to their villagers. But in the way that you're talking about, I guess there's a lot of people that like cheat, which is like fine because play the game however you want. But a lot of people will like buy bells online for real money, or they'll like find certain hacks. Like one of the like not really cheating kind of hacks is like creating like a tarantula or scorpion island to generate bugs that sell for a lot of money because tarantulas and scorpions are rare. So there are things like that, but there's no like real beef, I would say. I mean, maybe there is, and I don't know, but definitely would have to scour the internet for that.
The dark web of Animal Crossing, where like, there's a sex cult on an island, and it's also multi-level. Or is there any multi-level marketing in this game yet?
Oh yeah.
I want to get this game just to see if I can start a scam.
So if you go to another person's island, can you ruin their island?
Yes, people do ruin other people's islands.
What?
A lot of people, so if you have a Switch and somebody else plays on the same Switch, you guys can use the same game and live on each other's island. So the different users will be able to interact on the same island at different times. So a lot of people have like brothers and sisters that come over, and if you run through flowers, you can like ruin their flowers, and there are a lot of rare flowers that you can breed, and they take obviously a while to grow because everything's in real time, so they grow kind of in real time. So people definitely go around and like steal items and
but that they share a Switch with, so not strangers on the internet.
You can also, if you like invite someone over to your island that is a stranger, they can still ruin your island. Like there's this thing called Nookazon, and people go online, and it's kind of like eBay, I guess. You can find rare items and buy them with real money, or say you're going to trade in game, and then you invite this shady person over to your island that you don't really know, and a lot of times people have like had people steal things from them.
So exactly like Craigslist.
Yeah.
This game is amazing. We also got a comment from Arthur, who wanted to point out the Animal Crossing community, there's directed hate against those who do time traveling.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I've heard about this. I think I understand it because of what people do in Candy Crush, which is they change their phone's time to like get more is it like they're changing the Switch's time to get better turnip prices or something?
Yeah, so I mean, actually you can ruin your turnips if you time travel, so I wouldn't recommend it. But for time traveling, basically there are a couple of upgrades that you get in the game the faster you play it. Like if you get to 30 days of playing in-game, you'll get Nook Miles for that, but you'll also have like upgraded shops, because at the very beginning your stores are very simple and tiny. So things like that, and a lot of people will speed up time because, like I said, like rare flowers, they take a while to grow. Like it takes like 3 days for a flower to fully grow. So if you want your flowers to grow faster, you can like skip days. And also it's another way to like generate money because in between the months, at the end of the month and at the beginning of the month, you get interest on the money in your bank. So people will just time travel back and forth between the days to get more money. A lot of people don't like it because it is cheating, but I mean, the people who time travel say that like they paid the same amount of money for the game. They're allowed to play however they want, which is true. I personally like to experience it in real time because I think it's fun to like play at your own pace, but some people just want to get stuff done. Also, you can only move houses and buildings the next day. So like it takes a whole day to move things around. So if you're trying to like redesign your island or whatever, it takes a while to move all the buildings and all of that.
Cool.
So this is like, there's consumerism and like almost elitism in a way, because you're like, oh, I have this rare flower or like this really cool bug. So it feels like real life. Are there like famous Animal Crossing players?
Yes. There are people online, obviously, that like they'll go through and explain like the whole game, or they'll have really nice 5-star islands that they have created through trading or time travel or however, which is fine. And it's fun to look at, but it always is kind of funny to look at their islands and then look at your island and you're like, okay, got a lot of work to do. But yeah, there's a couple of famous Animal Crossing players, but they mostly just give like design tips, like how to get your your favorite villagers, because there's a lot of different villagers and some of them are kind of mean. And then other people are obviously mean because they're ugly, but whatever. Kicking island like villagers off. There's a lot of like content online about it.
This is amazing. I love this subculture.
Have many players, so you talked about there being like celebrity players, have people found ways to monetize this yet? Like, are people paying their rent off of stuff they're doing on Animal Crossing?
Do you mean like in real life? Or...
Yeah, I mean, are people getting real, hard, legal currency off of Animal Crossing somehow?
I mean, I could only think of through like streams and stuff, right?
Well, you said people are buying turnips for real money.
Yes, some people. So turnips, the typical price, I guess, for a turnip to sell is like, I don't know, anywhere from like 40 bells to like 120 bells or something. But every once in a while, people online post like, my turnips are selling for $50 bells today. And so everybody wants to go to that island. And a lot of people are like charging things that are not really the fairest to come and sell your turnips for that amount. And I will say, okay, so going back to the animosity thing, that has been a lot of controversy in the community. A lot of people are mad at the new influx of players because they want more for things that old Animal Crossing players used to just like say nice things about, if that makes sense. Like people used to just be like, hey, come over to my island. My turnips are selling for 550 bells. And they would just post that and then let people come over. But now it's very demanding. Like people are like, you have to pay me 10 gold nuggets and 100 Nook Mile tickets before I will even let you on my island. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like a microcosm of the development of like industrial capitalism.
Yeah,
it seems nice at first, but yeah. So
I can't wait. I want there to be like a options and a futures market where you could like short turnip prices and, buy like futures for whatever. That's awesome, Joy.
Yes.
I'm so glad. I kind of want to play this game and I want to start. I mean, sometimes I like these games because I get to do all kinds of evil things I would never do in real life, like start an MLM cult, which I'm going to look into. If anyone has any tips, please email us, culturebinge@wisecrack.co. But yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah.
And Joy, thank you so much for sharing all of this. And Serby, thank you so much for being the like investigative journalist who's just diving into a culture not your own to share this.
And if I was wrong about anything, like please send us an email. I would love to learn more about Animal Crossing. Me and the other producer, we always text in the morning about the latest like updates of different things. I would love to read those.
And invite Joy to your island so she can come see your cool flowers.
She'll ruin it. Don't do it.
Yeah, Joy will. She's been watching The Big Short over and over to figure out how to ruin the economy there. Cool. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for bringing this up. I might leave the show and go buy a Switch so you all can just handle this from now on. So before we get to the next topic, got a cool thing to tell you about. So Wisecrack is doing a partnership with Lionsgate. And that means that this Friday, May 8th, on our YouTube channel, at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I know there's 2 other time zones in the middle. You can figure it out. We're going to have a free screening of John Wick. And I don't know, if you're like a human that likes movies, you probably like John Wick. These are very fun films. We're going to have the link in the description, and we will also tweet and post about this the day of. But this is a new thing that they're doing called Lionsgate Live, A Night at the Movies. And they're doing it as kind of a love letter to movies. Something that some of us who like movies a lot are probably bummed about is we've lost the experience of not just going to theaters, but collectively watching films. So this is a chance to hang out with a bunch of strangers on Friday night and watch John Wick. And it's going to have an intro by special guest Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't know about y'all. I'm a big Jamie Lee Curtis head. And there's going to be some celebrity appearances as well. I hear Serby might be coming up at the intermission to talk about her thoughts on John Wick. There's also a sort of, nice, happy, ethical component to this, is that the initiative aims to support people that make movies so special by benefiting the Will Rogers Motion Pictures Pioneers Foundation, which is helping theater workers furloughed by COVID-19 by providing financial assistance. So if you're someone that loves going to the movies and you love the people that make that experience awesome, you can donate money. And there's going to be links to that there as well. So this stream is age gated at 18 plus. So if you're a child, either don't go or lie. And it's geo-gated to the U.S. or Canada. So either be in the U.S. or Canada, or be smart enough to have software that tells the internet you're in the U.S. or Canada. But check that out this Friday, May 8th, our YouTube channel, 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. depending on where you live. John Mother effing Wick. It's going to be fun. Now, something that's also fun along with John Wick is FDA-approved testing of COVID-19. And I think Alec is about to school us on this.
I wouldn't say school. I'm going to summarize a great article that this journalist Stephanie Lee wrote. But
so humble.
This, I'll say the larger question I think is really interesting in this is that obviously in times of emergency, we do things faster than we would normally do and kind of figure it out later. And I think this is a good example of that. And I'm not even here to criticize the FDA or not criticize the FDA, but we'll talk about it. But specifically, this is an article in BuzzFeed News by Stephanie Lee, who's been doing a lot of actually cool reporting about this issue. Cool is a weird word for it. But the FDA, so if anyone's seen advertised COVID-19 antibody test, and so to give a little context, there is the regular, you're in a hospital nasal swab test, which is like, are you infected with the virus right now? I think they culture it and see if you have the virus. An antibody test is just seeing if the stuff in your body that fights the virus is there, which would indicate that you have had the virus or possibly currently have the virus. Antibody tests are used in all kinds of things to determine like if you've been infected by a thing, because those antibodies hang around usually for the rest of your life. So this is what these are testing for. And specifically, people kind of want them they're interesting for one of two reasons, right? People think, erroneously, and I'll get to this, that if they've had it before and they have the antibodies, they're cool. Like, I don't have to wear a mask. I can go to the store. Like, fuck it, I'm fine. Even though we don't actually know if getting the virus once will protect you from future infections. The other reason is because these have been reported a lot, but there will be small studies that will say, oh, we tested, 1,000 people randomly or 10,000 people, or sometimes not so randomly, which is a big issue. And 30%, I'm making this number up, 30% had COVID antibodies, meaning like 30% of the population's already been infected. And so this becomes really interesting because this article is about just the wild west of tests that have sort of emerged. So here's what happened. This is from the article. In a reversal of a policy that led to dozens of unauthorized coronavirus antibody tests flooding the U.S. market, the Food and Drug Administration said Monday that manufacturers must submit data proving the accuracy of their test within the next 10 days or face being pulled from the market. The FDA originally relaxed these rules because of test shortages. They thought they were it's an emergency. We don't have enough antibody tests and other kinds of tests. Like, let's loosen our sort of long bureaucratic process for a little bit just to make things easier. And here's another quote from the article. The move allowed test manufacturers to bypass the process for emergency use authorization, which requires that the agency review data about the test accuracy. So instead, companies only had to tell the FDA that their tests were for sale and that they had internally validated them. As a result, there are now 12 FDA authorized tests and more than 165 that are not, according to the FDA's own website. And this isn't just like Serbi decided to go on a Facebook group and, the Serbi's homemade antibody test. There was literally a hospital in Kansas making misleading claims about their antibody test. So their antibody test, the advertising for it, and they got in trouble for this, said that the test can help you realize if you have active virus in your body, which is not true. Antibody tests will not tell you that. At least there's no evidence that they can, or this antibody test can. And they also claimed to tell if you had immunity, which again, antibody tests can't tell you because, first of all, the threshold of antibodies that you need for immunity, can you get reinfected with these diseases? These are all questions that are up in the air in the scientific community. So the Kansas hospital had to stop advertising it, I think, at all, or stop offering it. That was another article that Stephanie Lee reported. And so what I think is interesting is, one last FDA quotes. We unfortunately see unscrupulous actors marketing fraudulent test kits and using the pandemic as an opportunity to take advantage of Americans' anxiety, the FDA said in a statement. And I think one of the biggest risks here, as noted in this article and noted elsewhere, is the false positives, right? If these antibody tests are telling people that they are suggesting to people that they've had COVID, they might feel more comfortable going outside, not social distancing, having house parties outside Michael's lawn. And they could get sick as a result. And then at this point, these false tests killed people. And the other problem with false positives is, when people are making arguments about reopening states or not reopening states on shoddy test data that is suggesting that more people have been infected than actually have been, there could just lead to bad public health policy. And so I think the larger kind of question that I want to bring up is that in times of emergencies, we have to cut corners. And again, not necessarily criticizing the FDA's decision, but this has precedent. So during the 80s with the HIV crisis, the FDA fast-tracked AZT, which was a drug to treat it. There was really no drugs to treat HIV at the time. And I think even in those tests, there is still some kind of debate about the ethicality of those tests. Obviously, I think the treatment for HIV has sort of progressed far beyond that. But even with COVID test, we are skipping the animal trials for the vaccines, which I think is we're still doing human safety test. We obviously need a vaccine for this. This is a huge emergency. But we also got an email that I think we read about a lot of researchers are using the opportunity to publish shoddy results about COVID, knowing that in the rush for information, the peer review process doesn't have time. And so we're sort of stuck in, oh God, we need information about COVID. Here's a study that's in the process of being peer reviewed. Let's report it. And so unscrupulous actors can come in and say look, thousands of people cited my paper, give me tenure. And yeah, I have another thing, but just to stop there for a second, what do you guys think?
I mean, it is weird how much the misinformation around antibody tests has taken off. I think I'm someone who's not an idiot, and I'm decently critical in my thinking and appropriation of things happening in the culture. But even the governor of the state that Alec lives in went on his television talk that he gives every day and said if you have the antibodies, you're good, you're safe, you can go back to work, you can do whatever. And I'm sure there's other governors who have said that too, not just to pick on Alec's governor. And I saw John Oliver this week. The whole episode of his show Last Week Tonight on HBO was about the antibody test situation. And it is wild how quickly that misinformation spread. And I do think, not to call back to a topic that I brought up 2 weeks ago, but I do think it ties into the overall magical thinking around COVID, where any glimmer or crumb of hope for a magical solution, people are just so excited to wed themselves to. It seems like that's one of the reasons this took off so quickly, but I feel like now people are just starting on a large scale to realize that it might not be the magic thing we thought it was.
So I know somebody who is feeling so great that she is apparently immune to COVID based on her antibody test. And so her whole thing now is, I'm going to go donate plasma. I'm going to save lives. I'm going to go out there and do grocery shopping for senior citizens. I'm going to go do all these things and interact with everyone because I'm one of the few people who can do that. And I saw this and I was like, oh my God, these antibody tests are dangerous because now we have this one out here interacting with everyone, spreading all the germs. And
did she get a hospital test, or is she a confirmed I had a nasal swab virus test, or she just went to
it was a finger prick test, and she posted a picture of it, and it looked like this janky ass pregnancy test.
Oh, was it Theranos?
It was something. It was a Theranos situation, and she's she got it at a doctor's office. It wasn't at a hospital. I think it was just an independent clinic. It did not. I mean, I don't believe it.
I don't either.
Yeah. The plasma donation thing, by the way, hospitals have been, I think, again, this emergency authorization. You can, we do this with like rabies intro, like we take horse antibodies and inject them, or I don't know if we still do it, but we used to do this. But yeah, you filter out the antibodies, and people who are really sick, you inject it to them. And so if anyone's listening to this who has had like a test confirmed, like in a hospital case, Google around. Like I know in New York, I don't know if they're still accepting it, but Mount Sinai Hospital was looking for plasma donors to get these antibodies. That stuff's cool. Your friend should still try to do that. At least maybe then they'll be like, actually, you didn't have it. But yeah, don't do that. And like I've had friends who are like 90% confident they had COVID because they had the loss of smell and taste and they had a cough. And even then the discussion is like, they don't really have to wear masks, but they should anyway, because like, model good behavior and like you never know, but yeah, I think the other thing is that like it's only going to take one shitty person to slip through the cracks and fuck everything. Like there's already an erosion of trust in institutions like science, and there's always this tricky thing of being like skeptical and asking the right questions, right? Like when these things are being fast tracked, like we should, I mean, not me personally, but like the community, the scientific community, like should look at the data and should ask like hard questions about safety testing and efficacy and things like that. But it just takes one shitty person to fall through the cracks for anti-vaxxers to have another talking point about like, see, we can't trust science, or, the whole process is bullshit. And that I think is what really scares me.
Yeah. Madonna got one of the antibody tests and said that she now was going to drive around with the windows open and breathe in the COVID air.
Long hair, don't care.
Yeah. So Madonna gets science. I think she always has, and she continues to do that. But yeah, no, I think the point you made last, Alec, that this does add some fuel to the anti-vaxxer fire, is another big downside of the discussion around antibodies. Wait, how do you, and if you said this before and I blanked, I'm so sorry. But do we know what's going to change with the FDA thing where they put like a deadline on which test would count?
Yeah, you have to submit your results or sort of your data, and they're going to review it. And if you don't, you're not allowed to sell it. And if they look at your data and it's bad, you're not going to be allowed to sell it. And so I think that's good. But also, it is weird, like, I don't know. I kind of would leave this to like the public health experts. Like I understand the shortage of actual test, like the nasal swabs for COVID, but were antibody tests like ever really, was that the thing that we were dying in need for?
Yeah. Oh boy. Wait, did you all, if you had the chance to get one of these tests, would you?
I would, if it was like a real test, I would do it because I think I had COVID in December. So I would like to do it just so this way I can donate plasma, but it's not like I wouldn't continue to wear my mask and things like that.
Good.
Yeah, I think I would, because I think even though it's not proven that you can't get the virus twice and stuff, I think like if I did have the antibodies, I might be more willing to do sort of like the kind of in-person volunteering that's terrifying me right now, to be like, well, it could happen, but maybe I'm at a lower risk or something like that.
Oh, that's a really good point. I think that's a good reason to do it. And I too am someone who wants to do more in-person volunteering, but is also a coward. So yeah, but I guess if you have done one of these tests, let us know. I think there's a world in which my partner is getting one of these on Friday. So I'll ask her to take notes and let us know how it goes.
Live stream it.
I will. I'm going to be like, hey, sweetheart, can you please live stream your COVID antibody test and just stream it directly to Wisecrack YouTube channel? No, she won't do that. Anything else on this one, Alec? You've dropped so much information that I feel like I never have to read now.
You should keep reading, but no, that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. And as always, remember, you don't have to read because Alec will do it for you.
Nope.
So I want to talk about something that's not as serious as that, which is what has happened to live TV or like new TV production since COVID-19 has hit. And I think it's been interesting to see, I think when this first happened, we can remember back to a time that was only 2 months ago, but that feels like a lifetime ago, where initially things were just going to chill out for a week or two. And I think people optimistically thought things would get back to normal, but that hasn't happened. There's only a few television shows that finished filming in time for this, Top Chef being one of them. So now a lot of shows that either normally film on sets or that are late night shows that normally film live have transitioned to doing a remote type of production. I think this has been an interesting experiment, to say the least. Now, one of the areas we've seen this the most is late night shows. So I don't know, do either of y'all ever watch late night television?
No.
I have, just like once or twice.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of these things. Ever since Letterman died, my interest in, not Letterman died, the Letterman show died.
I was
David
going to
Letterman
say,
didn't die.
he died.
In case you're listening, David Letterman is he's going to live forever. I just meant that metaphorically. The show, ever since David Letterman stopped actively hosting a show and continued to live outside that studio, I've been less interested in late night television. But all of those shows have transitioned to a remote format. I'll just say this. I think it's been a pretty bad for the most part. I think one of the reasons it's been bad, and I'll say this to give credit to the host, is when you take the live audience out of that setting, it feels awkward. I did watch a couple of Stephen Colbert monologues, and it's kind of weird just to see like a guy sitting in the parlor room of his very nice home and reading jokes to which there is no response. It just feels very weird. We know that, laughter is a kind of social thing, and there's a reason why our favorite sitcoms, or our least favorite sitcoms, have laugh tracks, because it tells our brain that like other people are there with us. Without that, a little bit weird, and can feel a little bit like it's just like rich people vlogging. I do think, however, an example of a late night format that's been pretty good. Do either of y'all ever watch Last Week Tonight with John Oliver on HBO?
No.
I've seen it a few times.
Yeah, it's the one late night show I like a lot. I would say one of the late night shows that shares some DNA with what we do at Wisecrack, because they do a lot of really interesting deep dives into more technical topics that are punctuated with weird jokes and screaming humor. I think of John Oliver like the Jared of late night television. But John Oliver's done a very good job of transitioning to a late night format, to a remote format. But I think one of the reasons is they've worried less about being funny and focused more on information. So like the most recent episode was about COVID-19 testing and antibody testing. And while there still are a few bits of John Oliver yelling, and there was an extended bit about cats on the most recent episode that I would say people like Alec and our producer Joy might be into. Serby, I don't know about your feelings towards cats.
I'm a cat enthusiast.
Oh yeah, then you would like it too. So that's done a pretty good job. But overall, maybe not the best in terms of how late night shows are doing. Now, some other examples of shows that have tried to go remote in their production is recently Parks and Rec did a reunion special that was filmed remotely. I keep asking you all questions, and I'm sorry for making you feel interviewed, but did either of y'all catch the Parks and Rec Zoom reunion show?
I was waiting for someone to tell me if it was worth it, because I just rewatched it weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's a
I've
great
never
show.
seen Parks and Rec.
It's maybe better than The Office.
Whoa. Maybe though. You might not be wrong.
I'm not sure.
So they did basically like a version of a Zoom call where all of those people are versions of their characters. It was fine, right? It worked as a one-off special. It was good fan service if you're someone that just wondered like, what is Ron Burgundy up to right now? How is Andy Dwyer and April Ludgate holding up? Like, it was fun, but watching it, like, it makes sense as a one-off fundraising opportunity. As I was watching it, though, you have to wonder, like, that some network or some streaming service is going to think, cool, how could we do something like this that was a weekly episodic thing? So I do wonder if the door is going to open for producing sitcoms this way. I think it would be pretty bad if they do, but we'll see. Now, the show that I think has done the best with this, and this is a show that I don't normally watch. I'm not proud to say that I watch. If you want to roast me in the comments, roast me in the comments. But American Idol has done a wildly impressive job of running the show remotely. And they currently are doing the show at the point of the competition where there's like 20 or maybe now 10 singers who have all gone home to shelter in place with their families. You have the host of the shows like Katy Perry and Lionel Richie, who are at their homes, and then Ryan Seacrest, the host that Alec has modeled his persona after, is, at his home as well. But they've managed to set up this production where they have, musicians doing live backing tracks for the performers. The performers are setting up microphones and iPhones and ring lighting in their homes and are able to perform at a pretty high level. So out of all the shows I've watched, and I paid a little more attention this week because I knew I wanted to talk about this, the production value on American Idol is pretty impressive. I think if you're someone who's just interested in like what the future of television in the next like 6 to 12 to 18 months might look like, it's worth giving that show a watch. And there are some good contestants. Shouts to my girl Julia, who I hope is going to win. Fingers crossed. I voted for her 3 times this week. So let me ask y'all: have you noticed any? And I feel like no one watches live TV anymore, and maybe y'all don't. But have you seen any shows that have shifted to this production style? Has it worked? Has it not worked? What do you all think about this?
I haven't, but what I do enjoy watching is commercials now, because everybody's pivoted to like a new messaging where it's all about like COVID and contactless delivery and safety and all this. So
I hate to gang up against you, Serby, but I hate those so much. It's just like, we want to remind you that Ford is here for you. And if during this hard time you need to buy a car, we'll sell you a truck.
Yeah, but that's why I like watching it, because it's so amazing to be like, wow, like you really will insert yourself into anything. It's amazing. So I really like watching that. I think it's just this very weird situation that's happened. So commercials, that's what I've been watching. Lately.
Who has done a good job of commercials? And I hate to ever say that a brand is doing something good. KFC has been running versions of their commercials from the 70s. I think it's a smart move.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's real good.
Yeah.
Sorry, commercials. Because I've been watching fucking Before the 90 Days, TLC plays the same. And I know, knowing a little bit behind the curtain, they're doing this because they haven't sold all their ad inventory.
Yeah.
But there's this like 30-second ad with like all the TLC people being like, this is hard. We need hope. Like all these like random cliches just strung together from every single TLC show. And I hate it so much. And I think it plays like once or sometimes literally twice in the same like commercial break. I hate it so much. And I don't want them to insert themselves into this strategy. Although I guess like, are you just looking to watch the world burn, Serby? Is that what's going on?
A little bit, yeah. Like, okay, I think that's what it is.
That.
It's like I watch it in amusement, not where I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, Ford, thank you.
I can understand that.
Yeah. I mean, something I have thought about with all this as well is it's an interesting reversal where you have like network TV types that are now trying to produce content using methods that more non-traditional online types have been doing for years. Mm-hmm. So now we're at this point where like, especially on the late night shows, they're trying to produce remote comedic bits that are less funny than comedians that have been doing like Instagram videos or front-facing YouTube videos for years. So I think right now especially, it's sort of awkward to watch like Jimmy Fallon try to compete with 23-year-olds on social media.
It's just awkward to watch Jimmy Fallon in general.
Yeah. I saw a clip of The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, and I kind of haven't watched that much of the Trevor Noah version, but from like I see clips on Instagram and I generally find them funny, but I used to love Lewis Black, and I don't know if I've just aged out of Lewis Black, but there was some bit again like over Skype or whatever, and it just wasn't funny. And I think to your point, I think there's a few things going on. And I've thought about this a little bit because we get like writer submissions for people who want to write for us. And sometimes they'll send us things that are like very professional. Like let's say it was on NBC or some late night show, like a comedic bit. And I'm always asking the question, like, is this good writing or is it good because everything around it is like so professional and well done, whether it's like the audio, the lighting, the music cues, and all that. And I think the answer is that like most stuff on TV isn't even that well written, but it's just like packaged in such a nice way. And I think what this is doing is like exposing that. So, in the context of The Daily Show, that's also literally, I mean, it's not the laugh track, it's the audience laughing. So when you strip this joke down to its bare of just being delivered into a camera, like, it's not really funny without the social component. It's not funny without the nice Daily Show graphics or the whole like setting of like the nice sort of news set. And yeah, it's kind of like, I wonder if people are realizing like the people that nobody takes seriously on YouTube who are making these dumb TikTok videos, YouTube videos, etc., are probably better writers than like a lot of people on, say, SNL.
Oh, most definitely. And I guess, and I should have brought this up before. Another big example of this has been SNL, they've done 2 remote episodes. I'll just say they haven't been very good. I like a lot of people that perform and write on that show, and I do think some of them are genuinely funny, but they have been kind of like trying to figure it out. But it's so weird to watch SNL, the biggest example of sketch comedy we have in the world, not make stuff that's as good as comedians that probably didn't get asked to be on SNL who make Instagram videos. So it's odd to see that comparison. And I will say one example, if anyone wants to check this out, I don't know if you all have ever heard of the comedian Connor O'Malley, who actually used to write for late night shows. He has been putting up his own late night shows on YouTube, one of which involves him riding his bicycle around Manhattan in the middle of the night. And he streams it to YouTube and has like a recording set up on his bike. And it's like an absurdist kind of satirical take on the late night show. I recommend watching it if you can. It's pretty incredible stuff. But that's all I got for that. Do y'all have any last thoughts on that one?
It's a weird time.
Yeah, weird time indeed. Okay, so we got to wrap up soon. So we have some stuff to get through. We, as always, we love to hear from you all. It was great hearing from some people about who we would play if this was a movie in the reviews you recently left. But we like to hear from you other ways too. So if you want to leave us a voicemail, as always, call us at 1-213-534-8807. I'll say it slower. 1-213-534-8807. And you can leave us an email at culturebinge@wisecrack.co. culturebinge@wisecrack.co. No M. We truly, truly love to hear from you. Please get in touch, whether it's about these topics, other topics, or just things you feel like talking about. So I think we have a few voicemails and some emails this time around. What do we want to start with?
Let's start with those voicemails.
Nice.
Hey, Culture Binge. I just wanted to give my 2 cents
Joy,
on
the amazing
Corona,
Animal
seeing as
Crossing
how
playing
I'm a senior in
producer
high school
is
and a
going
bike
to
fan.
Yes.
Make sure to
Amazing
send us
indeed.
emails
Hi,
to invite
Claire.
Joy to your islands.
And also clap for Joy at 6:55 every day. Just
Hi, this is Claire. So I just watched the Corona Cruises episode.
really wanna
So I'm a
switch.
college senior. I go to our college. where we
I think
pay
you can
about
get that, or
$46K
like
a
the
year,
Switch
and
Lite.
so
Is that what it's
about
called?
dorms and such.
I think
So
they're
first
back
we
in
kicked
stock.
everyone out and then told
Maybe I'll
international
buy that.
students
Okay,
tough luck.
Yeah, it's a
Then
little bit.
eventually after
No.
Well, I can go straight into the emails, and then whenever we want to
Yeah,
figure
let's
out. So
because we pivot. Pivot. We're good at this. Go ahead. Let's get into these emails.
if anyone wants to send us an email, again, it's culturebinge@wisecrack.co. We got a ton in the last 2 weeks. Unfortunately, we are running low on time, and so even the ones I picked, we won't get to all of them. But here's a quick one from Brandon. Last week, I shout on devs. Brandon says, I'm not going to make any sound arguments here. Just wanted you to know that I respectfully think Alec is wrong, and devs is, in my opinion, the greatest TV show ever created.
Whoa.
Have a nice day, Michael. You
Wow.
should definitely watch it, Brandon.
Wow. Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah,
great.
I think you're wrong, Brandon, but again, respectfully so. Next email is from Anonymous.
Uh-oh. The Hacker Collective? Shit.
Anonymous says, I love listening to your podcast, and in the last episode you talked about cruise ships. I'm one of those people that love cruise ships. I do agree with your opinion about the loads of money going on and that not reporting people gone missing is a very bad thing. I think there was a typo there, but moving on. But for me personally, cruise ships are the best way to go on vacation. I have a medical condition that makes it not possible for me to fly. I also have very limited energy resources and I'm quickly overstimulated. If I would go on a city trip, I could only go to one city because traveling costs a lot of energy. With cruise ships, I am able to go overseas and visit multiple cities in one trip. I also have to be in a completely calm environment to restock my energy. Sitting on a balcony with only the sea works much better than sitting on a balcony in the middle of a busy city. However, I do take extra precautions because I have a lesser immune system. I only go on small cruises, never on big boats. If it has multiple swimming pools, it's too big. This person doesn't drink any alcohol, takes extra care of their personal hygiene. Also not a fan of the ship entertainment. And they take early breakfast, try to avoid crowds, et cetera, et cetera. they just wanted to give us an insight of a very specific cruise use case. And I like that. I've kind of heard similar things. Like people have talked about disability access in cruises. Like if you use a wheelchair or something like that, I think, they're pretty amenable and maybe an easier way to travel than wondering like if the local bus will, be accessible in that way. So thanks for that email, Anonymous, whose name I'm not going to read.
Thank you, Anonymous.
Thank you.
The next email is from Tariq. Hello, Culture Bingers. I worked as a keeper at a Texas roadside zoo, very similar to Joe Exotic's GW Zoo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Carol Baskin.
Almost everything that happened in the docuseries happened to me and other keepers. Shenanigans like crazy owners, worker exploitation, poor living conditions, injuries, and a culty, shady business model. There was even an expired meat truck, but with the addition of produce for the herbivores. Yes, we did pick through it. I quit, of course, but I felt pressure to leave from day one because I wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid. I am happy this docuseries was made because for years I lived with the guilt that I gave up too easily and was being pansy about the whole thing. The show has given me a peace of mind and some vindication for walking away. Seriously, I almost got sepsis from handling rancid raw meat with no gloves.
Oh my God.
Or gloves, kids. In conclusion, I love the show for the same reason I liked Fire and Behind the Curve. I want to know more about the world's folk villains and how painfully human they are. Thank you for that email, Tariq.
I'm glad you quit.
Wow. Glad you got out of there.
Yeah. That shows really good judgment.
Very good judgment.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, no. More emails or we go into voicemail land? Sorry for jumping on your...
Well, I'll give a quick break if the voicemails want to come in, but if they don't, I got more emails. It's fine.
Oh, nice.
We had so many great
Culture
emails.
Binge. I just wanted to give my 2 cents.
Joy just
on
said, not sure if you can do it.
I'm a senior in high school.
Oh, we
Yeah.
can't hear it. We cannot hear it.
Okay. Well, if we don't get to these, I promise we will leave time to just have a real voicemail extravaganza in 2 weeks. I'll make my topic something really short, like colors that I like.
What's your favorite
Alex, we got another. Listen, let's leave some mystery and save it for 2 weeks from now. Everyone tune back in. We got another email then?
Yeah, let's go to 2 weeks ago, we were talking about university changes because of COVID. So here's an email from H for anonymous H name. I'm in the last term of my undergraduate degree and was on the fence about beginning grad school this fall, but this term has steered me to taking a year off. I go to a very small state school, and I'm lucky that my professors are working very hard to offer reasonably high quality lectures and materials from home, but it just doesn't compare to the real deal. From completing labs through short videos / simulations to my field course turning into a research intensive course, my motivation and engagement are dropping every week while my regrets for the loans taken out this term grow. Again, with a small school, we don't rely heavily on sports, but the lack of students paying the inflated prices for dorms and meal plans will no doubt leave a dent in the school finances. I expect to see a smaller faculty size in the fall and higher online administrative fees. Thanks for the content, H.
Thank you, H. And I'm gonna say this. This is some advice from your Uncle Michael. If you're an incoming college freshman and you were going to go to college and pay a lot of money, defer, enroll in your local community college, and knock out all the required courses that you're not excited to take anyway. So if you're like a humanities or English person, do some math, do some science. If you're a math and science person, learn about 19th century Victorian, that's not Victorian era, literature and other stuff. Seriously, I mean that. Don't waste your money. Online learning is not going to be worth your $50,000 if you're going to someplace fancy. Yeah. Was that it for emails for right now?
Let's do.
We could do one more, I think.
Yeah, one more. I'll make it a short one. So here's an email from Miguel. Miguel is attending a small community college in Texas. Wanted to drop in and say that many financial aid student workers have stopped getting paid because of the pandemic. It really sucks because we also really depend on the money to help our families. And in my personal case, saving up money to transfer to a different school. I had already been accepted to the University of Houston for the upcoming semester, but now I'm not sure if I will even attend because I don't want to pay full tuition fees in the middle of a global pandemic.
Well, thank you for sharing, Miguel. And once again, we're hoping that things work out such that you don't have to spend a ton of money, but you can also end up going to the school you want to go to.
I hope you qualify for unemployment insurance.
Yeah, definitely. Look into that. For anyone, look into unemployment insurance right now if you're struggling. So we have to wrap up because we have some movers and shakers on this podcast that have to go do some important stuff. So a few things before we go. Once again, We want to hear from you. We'll do a voicemail palooza next time. So 1-213-534-8807. Emails, please write us, culturebinge@wisecrack.co. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Let us know who would play us in movies. Last thing before we go then, you have to go 2 weeks without us. In the meantime, people might need more. Serby, where can they find you in the meantime?
Surrey Patel 22 on Twitter. Also on Friday night watching John Wick.
Hell yes. Alec, where are they finding you?
Oh, it's on the screen. It's at Wisecrack Alec on Twitter.
Great. I'm Michael O'Burns on Twitter. And if you want to know what Dude Abides was talking about earlier with this tie yourself up thing, I'm running a Twitch stream twice a week, twitch.tv/GodsIanBurns. Only come if you like weird stuff. But for myself, Alec, and Serby, this has been Culture Binge. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we will be here for you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.